Okay, well, hi. It's so good to see you.
Oh my goodness. So welcome to License to Spill. I'm Christina Scaglione and
I'm Julie Stark.
and we're gonna, start this up with, a really light conversation about the holidays because they're already upon us.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. That causes, I feel like it's supposed to be a festive time and all the beautiful lights are out everywhere. And we're just getting knocks on the door, knocks on the door. It causes so much more stress than ever. And I'm not sure why.
Well, I mean, do you feel ready for the holidays?
Do I ever feel ready for the holidays?
I always say no
Yeah,
when
what does
somebody
that
asks me
really
that.
mean?
I don't know. I think as therapists, clients assume that we're always ready for anything. And when my clients come in and say, "Are you ready for the holidays?" It's just an icebreaker, I suppose. I say no. I hate the holidays.
Really?
I don't really like them very much. I guess hate's a strong word.
Do we
But
have to
they're
put a Grinch behind you?
yes, I love the Grinch. I
That's
love
right.
the Grinch.
Now I
I would
remember.
would dress as the Grinch any holiday. If I had the time to get that Jim Carrey costume, oh, that would so be me. I would terrorize people. I love it. Love the
I wish
Grinch.
I knew what went through your head with each holiday and why some you'll celebrate and some there's just no chance. But we'll get to that another time.
We celebrate Christmas. I will say it's just not. It's a hard time for most people. When I was before I was a therapist and I was primarily a client, I really didn't enjoy the holidays at all, and that's because I come from a difficult family, and I think a lot of my clients at least can understand that and have the same reservations. But, holidays, I don't associate them with the commercialized cheer that we see everywhere. I think I associate it with, stress and deadlines and boundaries that people have difficulty holding. So, I don't know. I guess, do you have any of your own stress habits that you experience during the holidays? You celebrate different ones than I do.
This is true. My family here will get together for Hanukkah and Christmas at certain times for my nephew, but I think it only gets stressful for me like an hour beforehand. Otherwise, it's fine because there's really not too much drama in my family. So it's often easy in that regard, but I do set myself up with anxiety for disaster, and that never happens.
I wish I could say that never happens at my house, but my personal home with my partner and children, we don't have drama and disaster. But my biological family that I was born into, historically, we have a lot of interesting holiday experiences and things that my cousins and I laugh about now, but were certainly traumatic growing up with. So we don't love that. But I think all of that traumatizing holiday cheer that I was talking about before has really set me up well as a therapist to prepare my clients for this time of year. I mean, do you observe any shift in your clients during this time of year that you feel like you need to maybe repeat certain things in every session with?
It's certainly not joyful. It brings up fear, and then money becomes the issue for everybody. And spending, how much do we spend on this, and how much do we spend on that this last year? And it's all analytical, and we forget what it's really for. Essentially, at least in my opinion, family getting together and being together, and supposing that it's joyful and celebratory and just tradition as well. I think my family is more traditional. We just celebrate being together versus anything else. So how do I prepare my clients? You said, I think we just talk things through and go over certain skills that have worked in the past for them to reduce anxiety, and even some things to do while there and with family.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I guess holidays are emotionally loaded for a lot of different people, and a lot of my clients, there's such a mixed background. I don't really have one type of client that I work with, but I would say what I find myself repeating in sessions is how to say no and how to be okay with saying no, because I think families put more pressure on each other during holidays to have certain roles upheld, and they activate old patterns in my clients that they're in therapy to try to undo. And social expectations are like over functioning, over socializing. The financial pressure you mentioned is another one. And I think grief intensifies during the holidays too, especially if you've had any loss. And I also notice that sometimes people don't feel like they're festive enough, and they feel like they almost like they have to pretend that this is a happier time of year than it really is for them.
Exactly. And it's just such a shame that society looks at it like that. Thankfully, when we work with one-on-one clients, we can hope to affect them and how they are with their families. I just think it's such a shame overall.
It can be. It definitely can be. I think one of my clients said that family functions are like a group project where nobody knows what they're doing and everybody's exhausted.
Yeah, I can see that.
So
I can see that.
I guess,
or the don't talk about this, don't talk about this.
or the opposite. I can't wait to talk about this or that person, and it's like it's a negative exchange of negative energy that sometimes people can find amusing, and I think my family probably partook in that a lot, where they couldn't wait to get together to talk about who wasn't there, or who couldn't make it, or why this person said no to the RSVP, or just
Right. It's like, why do we default to the negative instead of, oh, Aunt Bertha is here, we're so happy to see her? It's who's not here.
Aunt Bertha.
Yeah, I don't know why that came to my mind.
I also notice a trend where, and I used to feel this way too when I would come home from college. The holidays have a special way of making you feel like you're 12 again at home, especially around certain relatives. Do you have any experiences with that?
Unfortunately, not anymore, I have to say. Yeah, no, sorry.
Not anymore?
Yeah, I don't feel that way. I don't have issues with certain people.
Have you ever in your life coming home from college, going home, felt like, oh wow, I feel whatever age I was when I last was here? Well, for me, I left home when I was 14. So when we would come home for the holidays, it was weird because I lived away from home. I lived at a boarding school, and then I went away to school. So I think some of the younger adults that I work with, they've been living away and on their own for a couple of years. So coming home for holidays is like, my childhood home, my bedroom, the rules that my parents have for me. I know my daughter does this when she comes home. She forgets that she has a curfew when she's with us and doesn't have one when she's in college. So it's hard, I think, for people to even if it's just a weekend, to adjust to the house rules when they didn't have any when they were away.
For sure. I guess one thing I did get this year, which I think I had told you about, was this one client was going to see her grandparents, and she was saying to me, I don't want all the questions. What's my job, and am I dating, and where am I going to move when I get engaged? And she didn't even have a boyfriend at the time and just did not want the questions.
Yeah.
So we decided to go at it in a funny way and, take a piece of paper and write down answers to questions. The first half was yes, yes, no, 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 assuming, just as a joke, assuming that she knew what the questions were. And then you flip it over and it was, no, I do not have a boyfriend right now. I am waiting to hear from jobs, but I send out 3,600 resumes a month. No joke.
600, that's
She's
a lot.
not even an exaggerator. Yeah, unbelievable. So we turned the beginning of a session, which was, anxiety producing, into something that was hilarious.
That's great.
And she was going to wear it.
Well, that's even better.
So
she could just flip it. Oh, that's great. So you could just point to the sign.
Yep. And to bring some levity to it, right? Versus hurting someone's feelings who honestly wants to know the answers to these questions, because they don't get to be around 20-year-olds all the time.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. Things that have changed in their lives, things that people will assume that you should be hitting as a milestone because, that was generationally what they had expectations that they had put on them, and then they just kind of copied and pasted it to the younger generation. And some of the things that I go through with my clients is to have pre-planned boundaries so that they can get out of conversations that they don't want to have or change the subject. Especially with the political climate today, it's a very hot topic to be mixed in a mixed bag for the holidays with, I don't want to say political agenda, but opinion. I'll say political
Oh
opinion.
my gosh, yes,
So
very much.
not only is it normal to feel like you don't fit in the house that you grew up in after being out of it for so long, you can have a pre-planned boundary where you script it with your therapist or with yourself after listening to this and say, things that you can offer in response to some questions that you don't want to navigate or pre-write out answers to. You can say, like, I'm not discussing that today.
Exactly.
Let's change the subject. I need a quick break, and then jet out the back door for some fresh air. Or
Yeah,
even
for sure.
create it like the way that I would prepare for holidays when I was coming home to them is I had to have an exit strategy ahead of time, and I had to ensure that I drove myself to where we were going. And if we were hosting, I made sure to pull my car out of the driveway and park in the street so I didn't get blocked in if I needed to leave. It could be also a pre-planned walk, a phone break, a bathroom grounding session.
Absolutely.
Code word with whoever you went there with. Like, I would bring friends home with me for holidays that couldn't afford to travel back to where they were. And so if I had a code word of like, we need to get out of here, if they couldn't read it on my eyes or my face, then we had, certain things that were in place. Because at our holiday functions, anything could go down.
I remember you telling me, for sure.
So we had to always have some sort of plan. And I would have this plan with my siblings and cousins as well.
I also tell clients, not necessarily just for the holidays, but they're going out with family or people they are anxious about going out with, that majority of people love to talk about themselves. And not in a bad way, but if they're asking you questions that you don't want to answer, flip it with a question. So I say, no, I'm not sure what I'm majoring in college right now, but I heard your son got engaged. I don't know why I'm looking over there. Your son got engaged. That's amazing. Tell me about it. And they don't even realize that they've been hoodwinked, if I can.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. If you have to get into a conversation with somebody, which I would try to avoid, turning it back on them to talk about themselves is a great strategy.
For sure.
And
anywhere.
Exactly. Regulating before the event is helpful. I think now that we are in this field to help people have control of their nervous system sometimes, and I think you could probably agree to this, that clients sometimes will wait until the fire is happening before they deploy a skill when they could use some of the coping skills before the emergency is there, and instead of a last ditch effort, and giving yourself permission to have mixed emotions during this time.
Absolutely. I think the permission part is integral. I find though that many of my clients don't really employ skills versus strategies beforehand, because it's always a rush, it's always a something, and there's always an excuse.
Yeah, that's real.
To practice it further out than the event, further out than even a day or two.
Mm-hmm.
These are the things that I'm going to do.
Well, if they're lucky enough to get in a session the week prior to the holiday happening, we're there to kind of help remind them of things that they know, that they already know, that they've practiced before.
Yes.
That they have access to.
For sure. So yes, I think coming full circle to your original question 20 minutes ago was my phone rings more during the holidays and right before the holidays, for sure. And anticipating that anxiety,
Of course. And let's be honest, the holiday hits clinicians too, not just our clients.
What do you mean?
Clients, I think that assumption, I think I mentioned it 14 or 15 minutes ago, where I said I often feel that our clients assume that we have it all together and that we don't experience things the way they experience them because we teach so many different modalities and skills that we're perfect in some way and it doesn't affect us the same. And that couldn't be further from the truth.
100% on board with you.
So
it's just an assumption and not even asked, because imagine they'll feel like they're crossing a boundary at times. But, with certain clients, I will offer that information if I think it's going to be helpful. Like, I'm human too, and these are some of the things that I experience, and these are some of the things that I try and do to help me.
I mean, I think that's great. I do self disclosure when it's going to help the client as well. But I have some clients that will outright say, "Oh, you probably don't go through this, but this is what my family's like." And I'm always in my mind, I have like this split screen where they're telling me what they're experiencing and what their family is like, and I'm watching this like Jerry Springer avalanche movie of what my upbringing was like. So I'm like, oh my God, like if you only knew. But I think we're in the business where clients dump everything here before the holiday break, right? So they dump everything that they're dealing with in these sessions, and we are left to manage what that experience was like with them, and then manage our own family dynamics while holding maybe 25 or more people's stuff.
Right. And I have people, who walk out of the office saying, I don't know how you do it.
Well, guess what, Carrie? Me neither.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to hold it together.
Well, I would say there's a myth that therapists float above family chaos, and that's not true. I think more so now that I'm a therapist, being in that chaos, I'm even more of a target than I was before, because people want to unload all their stuff after hours onto me, or pick my brain about something, or get my feedback on something, or try to use me as a unsanctioned mediator for what's about to go down. And that I couldn't hit the eject button fast enough.
Yeah, I hear you. Sometimes clients will ask me, do you take off your therapy hat when you're sitting with family and friends? And truthfully, the answer is no. It is intrinsic in who I am. I suppose in my responses, I'm not going to be as clinical, but I am who I am. So, I can have regular conversation, or if they want to talk about something with depth, I'm right there for them.
I like that you said that, because I feel that I get this with friends sometimes too, where I'll give a response to something and they don't like that response, or they were expecting something else, and they'll say, don't give me the therapy response. And I think to myself, if I weren't a therapist, would I have said that? And then I have to think, no, that's what I would have said. And just because I have the clinical background now, I still would have been exactly that blunt, and 100% what I said would have been said regardless if I had the education that I have. So I've been in these scenarios even recently in the last like 4 months. I can think of a few people that I'm like, that's not a therapist response. That's my fucking response. Like, really? It's like, what do you mean? And I think that, yeah, I'm glad you said that you only have one hat. I think it can look different ways. We can position that hat differently, but I
have different, for sure.
It is the response that you're going to get. When it comes, you have a lot calmer of a holiday experience than I do, but in general, as a therapist during the holiday season, when we have so many colorful background type clients, how do you manage yourself empathy fatigue or compassion fatigue that you experience, since we do have an uptick in session time and quota, if you will, during this time of year?
Yeah, you're right. That's a great question. I think that I need to separate when I leave my office for the day, and I have to make it an intentional practice to say to myself, even if aloud, I did a great job today with work or this week, but I need to leave everything that I'm carrying for these clients. I need to leave it here so that when I go to my family, not as verputzt, if you will, as I may look or something. Does that make sense? These intentional things that I have to put into place. Talking to myself, writing down some notes. If this happens, then I can do this. If this happens, then I could do this. Sometimes I talk to myself and then we both laugh. Right. Hilarious.
Yeah.
So true. So true.
Yeah, so boundaries about intentional, like leaving stuff at work. Okay, that works. What about client crisis calls? Like people that try to get us after work that need help?
If it's a crisis, and I suppose that has to be defined.
Totally. 100%. very big important thing right there. It has to be is it really a crisis?
Right, because a crisis to them might not be a crisis to me.
Yeah.
So I would tell my clients before going into the holidays that these are my rules. You know, if something comes up that is emergent for you, I will do my best to get back to you, but I am not on call. I do not have my phone with me at all times. So if you think this is a mental or medical emergency, you need to call 911 or go to the hospital.
Good.
Yeah.
Boundaries for you too.
And if there is something that someone texts me very late at night, I'm most likely not going to see it until the morning.
It's
And
important to put that out there ahead of time, like you said.
ahead of time is important.
So for me, I would say client crisis calls, I have to help identify what a crisis is or not. I will take certain calls from certain clients that have a history of issue during this time, but they have to be able to ensure that they tried all the things that we prepared for first before I make that emergency session a thing. So they have to at least put that collaborative effort into executing some of the things that we preemptively put in place. And if all goes awry, then yeah, I will fit them in, and I will have more opportunity, or I guess it's more common that this time of year is a little bit busier for me because I am fitting people in on days that I normally wouldn't work or hours that I normally wouldn't begin or end. Like whether I can throw them in the beginning or the end of my day, it just extends, the length of time that I have to be in the office. So I will do that this time of year more often than any other time of year, but assessing if it's really a crisis is really important. And I do have boundaries around the phone time as well if I'm going to take a call or a text after hours. And if it's truly an emergency, like what is an emergency? And I have to identify what that is in session.
Exactly. And ask them, right? Not our definition of what a crisis is. You don't need to be standing on the ledge of a building, but what does crisis mean to you? And it can't be something like I have a blowout fight with my boyfriend and he kicks me out of the house. Like, no, it has to be something that my attention is necessitated and warranted, and I have to be there to, or, have a phone call at least to help the client through it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's important to identify. I think there's one little caveat though. Is this a client that typically will reach out for help? That's another thing I assess. Like, is this somebody I don't usually hear from? Is this somebody that I always hear from? Is this a crisis that is new or something we were potentially prepared for happening? And like I had preemptively said, if there's anything that goes wrong, you can reach out to me during these days and hours. Like, I think there's a lot of this pre-work that goes into how I assess if I take that call. And also, to your point, it's extremely important that we're not taking every single crisis and call because it'll burn us out a lot faster. And we need to be available for more than, I guess, a higher capacity of concern during this time of year than any other time of year, and ourselves, because we have our own families that we don't get to see all the time that we have to manage as well.
Exactly.
So it's a lot. One of our fans asked, how do we handle when we have to have a holiday? This is the question, right? So the holiday boundaries that are interpreted as being rude, when they're actually self-preservation, how can we navigate people being offended by our boundaries when they're benefiting, when we're benefiting from having them, and we don't, what's the word I'm looking for? They suffer if they don't have them in place. So it's a necessary boundary, this particular client experiences with their family. So how do they navigate people that are upset by those boundaries and interpret them as being rude?
Well, what would you say with this particular client?
Well, it's a listener of the show, so it's a client. It's a question for both of us.
Can you go first?
Sure. I think what we have to accept is that holiday boundaries aren't rude. They're self-preservation, like you said. And I don't remember exactly where I read this. I want to say it's from Terry Cole's Boundary Boss. I want to say that's where I read this. But
Shout out Terry Cole.
yeah, right, Terry Cole. I believe she said something to the effect of, if a person has a negative reaction to your boundary, then that's validation that the boundary was necessary.
That's a great way of wording it. It's an absolute great way of wording it.
So if you have these family members that are offended by your boundaries, then maybe that's why the boundaries are in place.
Exactly. And I think it takes practice and work to discover what the boundary is, what needs to be said, what you don't want to feel, what is okay with you, and find the courage to say that. I think there's a lot of work in that as well. And then when you say what you say as an I need this, or this is what works for me, no, nothing accusatory or blaming. This is what I need in order to get through the holidays. And I'm happy to talk with you about this next week. And you're right. Whatever their reaction is their reaction. And it's one of note that we should discuss at a later time.
You mean I don't have to attend every argument I'm invited to this season?
You do not. I give you permission.
Okay, great. So I guess the takeaway is, boundaries can help you get through and also better enjoy the holidays. Therapists require boundaries too. And
but boundaries also help people. Not me who's placing the boundaries. They help other people to know what they can approach you with and what they can't approach you with. If you think of a dog who's in a yard and it has one of those electric fences, after a little while, it knows where it can't run past and into the street to get hit by a car, God forbid. So it's a boundary, if you will, a more physical one, I suppose, but there's a lot of parallel in that. It helps them know.
Well, boundaries help both people. It helps the person that's setting it and the person that's receiving it, right? So in a family scenario or in a loved one scenario, even in lovers, partners, and friends, boundaries help you learn how that person needs to be supported and loved, and it helps you have space to love yourself first and love the person second, because that's how it's supposed to be. For you to help be in a healthy type of dynamic and symbiosis, boundaries help you be available when you're at your best versus taking on too much and not being great at juggling all the things.
Yeah, well said. Well said. So
all right, great.
Thank you for calling in with that question. It's not always as easy as we're talking about at all.
No,
but
of course
the
not.
more
They can be very
practice, the more you practice these things, the easier it will become for you, and it may prompt whoever is listening and has a reaction to it to address it with you. So there's a lot of good that can come from boundaries.
Absolutely. And next episode we can talk about the new year pressure to fix everything, which is another popular exchange that we hear in our sessions.
January is the highest month of gym memberships.
Is that true? When do they
is
cancel?
true.
When's the highest cancellation?
March.
That's really funny.
It's a 3-month, I'm not going to go. Why am I spending this kind of money?
Yeah, that's really funny. Highest gym membership enrollment and cancellation is in March.
Yes.
Great. The highest therapy enrollment is actually during the holidays.
More so than September-ish?
Yeah.
School, back to school, all that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they fall off in June because it's summertime and the sun cures everything.
Everything. Yep. No problem.
Absolutely. No problem at all. Well, I want to thank everybody for listening in today. If you wanted to learn more about us, you can go to www.rootandrisecs.com. And you can...
The CS stands for clinical specialists, which is often confusing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Stark.
Sorry, go on. Just
And
repeat the address.
You can find us on TikTok, License to Spill. YouTube, License to Spill. And on Instagram and Facebook, if anybody uses that anymore, Root and Rise, clinical specialists.
And maybe next time we can get into why we decided to call our company Root and Rise, and a little bit about how we support each other and how different we are and how that spills out to our clients.
That'd be great. We'll start with that next week.
Okay, sounds good. Happy